Good rainy Tuesday evening, everyone. The August 24th, 2021 meeting of the Marion County School Board is called to order. Vice Chair King, will you kindly read our commitment statement?
I sure will. We are the Marion County School District leadership team. When we come together to work, we are efficient, effective, and productive. Our three most important characteristics are dedicated, transparent, and individually responsible. To work well together, we must demonstrate respect, confront reality, and be accountable. We will always put students first, and we will leave a legacy of success.
Thank you. I would like to ask members of the audience to please remove your hats and turn off your electronic devices or put them on vibrate. Later in the meeting, up to 30 minutes will be provided for individuals to address the board on matters concerning the operation of the Marion County school system or the school board only. Presentations to the board are limited to 5 minutes and are televised. If you wish to address the board regarding a regular agenda item or matters on which the board customarily takes action, you must first complete a peach form located on the table in the hallway. If you wish to address the board regarding a public hearing or a student discipline matter, please complete a lime green form. These forms must be fully completed and received by the board's secretary no later than 5:40 p.m. The procedures applicable for each are on a separate sheet. Madam Secretary, please call the roll.
Mrs. Allison Campbell, District 1.
Here.
Mr. Eric Cummings, District 3.
Here.
Mrs. Nancy Thoreau, District 4.
Here.
Mrs. Kelly King, District 5.
Here.
Dr. Diane Gullett, Superintendent.
Here.
Mr. Jeremy Powers, School Board Attorney.
Here.
And now we will ask Ms. Colleen Wade, Principal of Lake Weir High School, and Ms. Ashley Morgan, Coordinator of CTE, to please come forward and introduce the individual who will be providing us with the inspiration and pledge tonight.
Good evening, Dr. Gullett, Chair Thrower, Vice Chair King, Ms. Campbell, Mr. Cummings, Attorney Powers, and Mrs. Martinez-Lopez. Thank you so much for having us tonight. We are very excited to introduce one of our students. This summer, the 93rd Annual FFA Convention and Expo was held in Orlando, Florida, and Marion County was represented very well, and we had several students who placed in the top 5. That full list is available in your monthly board report, but tonight I am excited to introduce from Lake Weir High School, Tyler Leib, who is going to be competing in Indianapolis this year for the National Convention for Prepared Public Speaking.
Excellent.
Good evening, Marion County School Board members and guests. My name is Tyler Leib, and I'm currently a senior at Lake Weir High School. This year, I've had the privilege of being FFA for 7 consecutive years, and one of my main goals since day one has finally come true. 2 months ago, I had the most humbling opportunity to stand on the Florida FFA State Convention stage and hear, and your 2020-2021 Florida FFA State Prepared Public Speaker is Tyler Leib. Now, I've been working towards this goal for the past since the 7th grade, and I've had to compete in over 4 sub-districts, 2 districts, and 2 state competitions to be able to be called a state champion while representing Florida at the National FFA Convention Expo in October. Now, would you like to hear my state-winning speech, which is entitled Food Insecurity?
Absolutely. Please.
My first day of school, my 11th grade year, started like any other first day of school. I put on the clothes I had picked out that night before, grabbed my yet-to-be-heavy backpack, removed my lunch from the fridge, masked up, and headed out the door. These simple activities are routine for me during the school year, and reflectively, I take them for granted. I take for granted the clean clothes I get to wear every day, the school supplies I have at my disposal, and more importantly, the nourishing and plentiful food supply I have available to me without thought. While sitting at lunch that first day, I noticed the number of my fellow students eating school lunch. I began to wonder, how many students, how many classmates, and how many of my fellow friends had to worry about their next meal? As defined by the World Food Summit, food security exists when all people at all times have access to safe, sufficient, and nutritious foods to maintain a healthy and active lifestyle. Therefore, food insecurity is the limited or uncertain availability of nutritionally adequate and safe foods, or the ability to acquire those foods. Today, I would like to discuss how these terms are playing a vital role in our agriculture industries, and how American agriculture is spearheading the effort to overcome food insecurity in our states, our cities, and even in my school cafeteria. According to the report by Feeding America, food insecurity exists in every state in the U.S., with 8 states exhibiting food insecurity numbers significantly higher than the national average. The same report conveyed that more than 50.4 million Americans in 2020 were food insecure, which has risen from 34 million Americans in 2019 since the wake of the COVID-19 pandemic. To bring these numbers closer to home, 1 in 6 people today struggle with hunger. Statistically, there's at least one person in this room that is uncertain about their next meal. In order to combat these overwhelming facts, American agriculturalists are working hard, developing methods to increase food yield and availability while maintaining an affordable supply. Across the country, producers are looking to and relying on the research technology developments taking place at more than 70 land-grant universities. Through the use of agriculture experimentations through the land-grant system, agriculture has seen significant yield increase, pest and disease resistance, hardier varieties of fruits and vegetables, feed efficiency and management systems in livestock, and mechanical systems that till, plant, harvest, package, and ship with extreme precision. These advancements have provided consumers with a diversity of nutritious food choices at affordable costs. In addition to the business and operation decisions farmers make every single day to provide for affordable options to the consumer population, farmers are making philanthropic strides to feed our growing population. Farmers Feeding Florida, which was founded in 2009, seeks producers that are able to donate a marketable but wholesome fresh produce to needy families through the Florida Association of Food Banks. The Farmers Feeding Florida program targets the 20 most highly desired specialty crops, such as fresh citrus, sweet corn, beans, tomatoes, and cabbage. In 2020, the Farmers Feeding Florida program worked alongside 2,400 partnering agencies while distributing more than 404 million pounds of fresh produce to Florida's hungry. While similar programs can be found throughout the U.S., the 5-year-old program is rapidly exceeding the conceptual expectations that were set and continue to make huge strides to feed our growing population. While programs like Farmers Feeding Florida are making sizable impacts, there is still a considerable need throughout our state and nation to provide nutritious foods, especially to children. While recognizing this need, the Florida Department of Agriculture and Consumer Services, in conjunction with the National School Nutritional Programs, provides school nutritional programs for breakfast, lunch, snack, and over the summer months when school is not in session. According to FDACS, 1 in 4 children in Florida are considered food insecure. FDACS is also connected to school systems with local producers through the Farm School program. The Farm School program helps connect local producers to school systems while providing fresh fruits and vegetable options, while empowering children and families to make informed food choices. According to the 2020 report, the National Farm School Network is currently working with over 42% of U.S. schools and over 23.6 million students as they participate in the local hungry. In Florida, school-age children enjoy fresh citrus, strawberries, milk, cucumbers, tomatoes, and other fresh seasonal fruits and vegetables 3 out of the 5 school days. These programs are educating young consumers to healthy food choices and, more importantly, exposing children to foods that might not be offered to them at home. It is startling to think of how many of our friends, neighbors, classmates, coworkers, or family members could be food insecure. However, as a student in agriculture and passionate FFA member, I am certain that the agriculture industry is the answer to our food insecurity problems that we face, and I cannot wait to be a part of that very solution. Whether through our continental advancements, technology and research, philanthropic efforts, or youth education, food insecurity will become food security. I know when that day comes, I'll reflect on that first day of school in the cafeteria, and I'll feel reassured that for many generations to come, they'll not have to worry about their next meal. Thank you.
Well, God bless our farmers, Tyler. And
Now, may everyone stand for the pledge.
Yeah.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
A little
I
sit
know.
down, stand up. Sit down, stand up. Little exercise here in between all this. Like I just said, Tyler, on behalf of the whole board, God bless our farmers. And God bless you for what you're doing and what you're striving for. It was a great speech, and your message could not be more timely, because if there ever was a time to try to be in a position to eat healthier and take good care of yourself, this is it. And we're so fortunate, aren't we, to have the partnerships that we have
Yes, ma'am.
with our hospital district and the greenhouses and farm to table, and really trying to get kids to understand, where their food comes from. And gosh, you were just spot on all the way.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good luck to you. We'll be rooting for you.
Chair Thrower, if I may, I know normally she represents the whole board, but as an effective speaking teacher, I feel that it's very important to say you're exceptional in what you did just now, because this is a technique and a skill. First of all, did everybody realize he memorized this 10-minute speech? I mean, that in and of itself is just fascinating. It's not something that people do often unless you're in a TED Talk and you're on TV. But it was terrific. Obviously, all of the content was valuable, and all of your cited sources and things you had. So it was just an exceptional speech. So from a speech teacher, I want to tell you did a great job.
Okay, well, I have to say something.
Sorry.
Third
When
grade
it's a kid, we're all
teacher.
gonna talk.
Well, he's my third. I was his third grade teacher. So to sit over here and see how much you have grown, and you were such a light, Tyler Leib. And I know your family, your mama has to be so proud of you and your message. And you were very thought provoking to me, and just, it was wonderful. So congratulations and best of luck to you when you go to, was it Indianapolis?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, so you'll have to keep us informed on how you do with that.
Yes,
So,
ma'am. Thank you.
Way to go, Vice Chair King. Look what you're turning out here.
Well, you talked about high school, but I was like, he was little and shy. That's why I'm like, but you're amazing.
That's what I'll do for you.
So,
Yes,
yeah,
exactly.
yeah, so congratulations.
Thank you
That's
so
awesome.
much.
Congratulations, Tyler.
Thank you.
Great job. Late Work should be very, very proud of us, proud of you, and we as a district are very proud of you as well. So continue doing what you're doing.
Thank you so much.
And you sound like you might be a preacher, so preachers do talk without notes too as well. So good job.
Thank you.
Tyler, as a school board attorney, I rarely address the speaker, but I need to let you know, back in the 80s, I was doing extemporaneous public speaking through FFA, and that became a real springboard for me to get into a number of other things. And you obviously have done an outstanding job. It's much appreciated, and I am sure that it will serve you well throughout your career and everything you do. So keep working at it and continue with everything you're doing, and stick with FFA. It's a great organization.
Thank you.
Thank
It
you.
means a lot.
Yes, absolutely, Dr. Gunn.
So thank you, Madam Chair. You are a very impressive young man.
Thank you.
And all I'm just going to say is our future is in good hands.
Yes.
You represent our future. Thank you.
And look, someday you could be one of us. Thanks again for coming by. We really appreciate it.
Thank you, guys.
Yeah, you bet. Bye-bye.
Wow.
All right, always hard to transition from the kids.
Always
to-
hard. That's
Yes.
what it's about. That's why we're here.
Yep, Dr. Gallett.
Thank you. Madam Chair, members of the board, I recommend approval of the agenda for the August 24th, 2021 school board meeting with the materials in the board packet. Those materials distributed to board members at the meeting, and the audio recording included as part of the official record of the meeting, with the exception of items C 6.1, C 16.1, and C 15.2 that have been moved to discussion, and item for just cause D 19.3.
Thank you, Dr. Gallett. May I have a motion on the superintendent's recommendation?
So move.
Moved by Board Member Cummings, second by Board Member Campbell. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes unanimously. May I have a motion to approve the minutes for the June 8th, 2021 school board meeting?
So moved.
Moved by Board Member Campbell, seconded by Vice Chair King. Are there any Are there any additions or corrections to the minutes? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes unanimously. May I have a motion to approve the minutes for the June 17th, 2021 administrative briefing and work session?
So move.
Moved by Board Member Cummings, seconded by Vice Chair King. Are there any additions or corrections to the minutes? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes unanimously. I will now ask the school board's attorney to explain the rules governing persons who wish to address the school board tonight. Good evening again, Attorney Powers.
Thank you, Chair Thrower. In compliance with Section 286.0114 of Florida statutes, the school board has adopted uniform procedures for public speakers who wish to speak at tonight's meeting, either regarding one of tonight's agenda items or a matter relating to the operations of the school district. These procedures will ensure the public has a reasonable opportunity to be heard on school board and school district matters. Excuse me. A written summary of these procedures is available from the table in the hallway. Public speaker forms are also located on the same table. The completed forms were due to the school board's secretary no later than 5:40 p.m. Tonight's speakers will be called prior to the business portion of the school board's meeting in the order of receipt by the school board's secretary. Before you begin speaking, please state your full name and address for the record and spell your last name. Each speaker will have 5 minutes of time. However, if there are more than 5 persons who wish to speak, the board may seek consensus to limit each speaker's time to 3 minutes. When the speaker has 1 minute remaining, the speaker will receive a visual notice from me to complete his or her comments. Speakers may not yield their time to other people. Speakers and meeting attendees are expected to conduct themselves in a respectful manner. Therefore, verbal attacks and profanity are strictly prohibited. Pursuant to the procedures for public comments, item 6, speakers are not to identify specific individuals other than themselves or their child unless a statement is provided 24 hours in advance. The board is here to listen to your comments only. You may be directed to an administrator or staff member following the conclusion of your comments for further assistance to address your concerns. If there are matters dealing with student discipline, including expulsions, they will be scheduled at the conclusion of the televised portion of this meeting. Parents may address the board regarding a discipline matter at that time. To ensure student privacy, only a parent or guardian may use a student's first or last name. Identifying references to or identification of other students and/or their families are also strictly prohibited. A public speaker's speech does not reflect the endorsement, sponsorship, position, or expression of the school district. Thank you for your attention to the board's requirements. Madam Chair, that concludes my explanatory remarks.
Thank you, Attorney Powers. Secretary Martinez-Lopez, do we have any speakers tonight?
We have 8, Madam Chair.
We have 8. And are they all on the same topic?
All but one.
All but one. Okay, the ones that are on the same topic, board, I'm going to ask, due to the number of individuals that are requesting to speak, I'm requesting consensus to limit the time for public comment to 3 minutes each for the common theme, and then we'll give 5 minutes to the single.
So move.
Consensus? Okay. All right,
So we're-
let's get started.
Ms. Janice Cubbage.
Did you notice if Dennis wiped off the podium?
Ms. Cubbage, please state your name, spell it, and state your address for the record. Your time will appear on the screen up there, and then I'll give you a 1 minute warning, okay?
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
My name is Janice, Janis, Cross, last name Cubbage, Cubbage. I reside at 18255 Southwest 484, Denellen, Florida.
Please continue.
Okay, I am wearing my city council badge today. However, during the day, I wear another badge. I'm a substitute teacher on a very regular basis for the Marion County school system, specifically at Dunellen High School. I came here from New Jersey, late 1990s, was hired by Bobby James. I'm ESE certified, ESOL certified, certified to teach science classes as well as American history, economics, and American government. And believing in carrying out what I told my students, I ran for office and won. Okay, but why I'm here today is it was a shock to us when us substitute teachers came back to school and we found out our pay had been dropped from $100 a day to $70 a day. I know teachers who are retired who, like myself, are an incredible resource in the classroom when the regular teacher cannot show up. And with this COVID situation, which began last year, we saw evidence of that in multitudes at every school. At Dunellen High School myself, I stepped in as a permanent sub, not permanent sub, but a $100 a day regular pay sub to take over a teacher who had to leave because she was pregnant and cannot risk the health of herself and her baby. Right now, second week of school, I am sitting in a classroom, not sitting, I'm usually walking around, doing what teachers do, and that is guiding my students through their lessons for a teacher who I believe is not going to return. Okay, what does that leave our principals to do? I don't even want to think about it. And it also puts our students in a bad situation if we do not have qualified subs. Alachua County, Citrus County, automatically pay their retired teachers $100 a day, and for a good reason. They know we have the experience, and we come back for a reason, and it's not for the pay, but I think we're worth more than minimum wage, which is what about we get after you subtract our taxes from our $70 a day. I also know teachers who are not certified as teachers or haven't been, but they're also very well qualified, and they will not return this year because of the 70 pay. But I'm speaking today actually for retired teachers. If Alachua County can do it, and if Levy County can guarantee and present $100 a day to their school system retired teachers to come back and take those roles, why can't Marion County? And you know what I'm doing today when I go home? I'm doing lesson plans for a course because I have nothing tomorrow when I go back in that classroom. Nothing. But I know that I have a responsibility when I walk through that doorway to engage those students from bell to bell in meaningful learning. And by golly, I will do it. And I also know that all those other retired teachers that are in Marion County that come back to sub, they are feeling as I am. We can't let our students down. We can't let our parents down. Please pay us what we are worth. Thank you all today.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Madam Chair, if I may, I'm sorry, on this topic, I'd like to bring Mr. Vianello forward because we are doing some work, the team's working on sub-pay, and so I'd like for him to provide an update, if that's okay, to the board. Thank you.
Morning or good evening.
Evening.
Members of the board, that is correct. We have been looking internally at sub-pay. Mrs. Boston Ellis and Miss Margaret Talbot Irving and I are also looking at how we can come up with a comprehensive plan to look at other areas as well. So our thought was to present and to have this discussion in totality as opposed to each individual area in isolation.
Thank you. When do we expect to have this come to us? Because it is very timely.
We could look at that. We could choose a work session and be prepared to have that conversation.
Great.
Madam Chair, members of the board, we expect that we could probably have that next month. We're just working through all those employee groups, but subs is certainly one of those that we recognize needs attention.
All right. All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Miss Melissa Merriweather?
Ms. Merriweather, you've been here before. If you please state your name and your address, spell your last name, and then you'll have 5 minutes, and your time will be up on the.
Thank you. My name is Melissa Merriweather. I'm sorry. I will not state my address because I am an exempt employee. That information is personal. I'm sorry. Can you remind me the rest? Name, address, a telephone number.
Spell your last name.
Oh, spell the last name. Merriweather. Merriweather. Thank you. Good evening, everybody. Superintendent, Ms. Fair, nice to meet you. Members of the board, Chair Thrower, Vice Chair. Ms. Martinez Lopez, very nice to see you all again. Thank you for having me. I wanted to first say, welcome to 21-22 school year. This is not the year that we all thought we'd be starting it out as, and we all recognize that it's going to take some extra effort. It's going to take some teamwork, some support from each of us. I am here on behalf of Marion Essential Support personnel, also as an instructional paraprofessional. I work with our most vulnerable students. I work with our ESE students. We have a variety of students from 4th grade through those who should have graduated or have graduated and are in some of the most desperate of situations. Let me start with a story. This summer, I usually work summers too, and I took off part of the summer because last year was exhausting. It was just exhausting. My very first day back, of course, Monday, our day with children, because I took the Friday off. I had some union things that I needed to complete as well as some personal tasks. I walked in the hallway after turning in my keys and ready to go to my classroom. I knew we were moving back because we were told it was a sinkhole, became a depression, but now it was going to be okay to go back to our classroom. We were excited. We're starting off back where we knew we were going to be last year and where we have all of our books and our supplies. We're ready to go. And I walked down the hallway, and I didn't even make it more than 4 steps. And I was told that one of my coworkers is dead. Just died from COVID on Sunday. This is the introduction to our school year. This is the same introduction that our students are having. Our babies, they're losing their family members. They're losing their loved ones, their friends. It's sad. And with this time, we know that this is the time that we're going to need to come together. Our non-instructional members, they came back this year ready to be invigorated. They're ready to go. They had the summer. They said this year is going to be better. We learned what we were doing last year. We know what to expect. We're in this to win this. And already they're tired. They're tired because this year is even worse than last year. This year our babies are getting sick. This year more of our people are out, are sick, are hurting, are dying. It seems to be hitting people closer to home. They're tired not just because they're wearing masks, not just because the kids don't want to be wearing masks or the parents don't want them to be wearing masks. They're tired because there's just not the energy. There's not the relief. They're being pulled from the beginning without even getting to meet their students. They just got this set group of students, and they don't even know them because they spend more of their time filling other roles in the schools that need to be filled because we don't have teachers in those classrooms, because we don't have HCAs in those clinics. And on that note, I do have a question. We have 2, I believe, registered nurses in these positions. Are they also being pulled to cover clinics when those HCAs are out? It's just a question. But we're working to meet the needs of our students. We're trying to work collectively and collaboratively and coming up with ideas to work outside of the box on what we can do to make sure everybody's needs are met. But with that support, we have our IPCs who are in the throes because what they've been told is now changing. Their roles are changing. Our paras are changing. Our kindergarten paras, there's not one for every classroom. We're having special needs students put into regular ed classrooms and being told that they can't be placed until the middle of September. Meanwhile, you have a child in a pull-up in kindergarten classroom with a para that's not even in the classroom because they're pulled somewhere else. These are things going on around the county. These are issues that we need to address.
Thank you, Ms. Merriweather.
Absolutely. I'm out of time. Thank you very much. I appreciate your time, your consideration, and I look forward to working with each of you and talking with you later.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you as always, Ms. Merriweather.
Ms. Kim Lowe? Law, excuse me.
Ms. Law, if you can step to the podium, please state your name and address. Spell your last name for the record, and then you'll have, is this still within the, is this one of the 5 minutes or 3 minutes?
5.
Okay, you'll have 5 minutes, and I'll give you a 1 minute warning.
Thank you. My name is Kim Law. I reside at 4168 Northwest 152nd Street in Reddick, Florida. My last name is L-A-W. No,
Easy enough.
yeah. I'm not sure. Can you pass this out to each of them, please? I'm here in reference to the old Reddick High School, which I know you guys have just recently. I've been actually working with the facilities department since before Mr. Knight had ever become employed with the school board. So for many years, I've been working on different projects and things to implement in the school, but at that time, you guys weren't interested. You didn't know what you were going to do for many, many years. During that period of time, I had been in a very bad automobile accident. The doctors gave me medication, and I went completely blind. God just recently blessed me with my eyesight back using nutraceuticals. Now, I share that with you because we never know what is going to happen to us in any given day. I, too, have had individuals, dear close friends, who have recently passed as a result of COVID. We are very interested in the high school for a multitude of reasons. The paperwork that I handed out to you has an introductory letter on the front that you can read a little bit later. We have been in the area for over 25 years. Our school, our nonprofit, Fostering Your Family's Future, was founded in 2005. We're interested in implementing programs that are very needed in the northern part of the county. Being blind for 16 years, there is no resources available. And if you've ever had to use, God forbid, Marion Transit, I mean, if you have a doctor's appointment at 10 o'clock, you have to get on the bus and be prepared by 5 a.m. in the morning for a 2-hour ride, for an appointment that may last 30 minutes. And the resources that you need, and then you wait for another 2 hours for them to pick you up for another 2-hour drive to come home. What we would like to provide is resources that are not currently available to the northern Marion County area. This school location also provides, we're very aware that recently you had put it up for demolition. We have the ability to, and the connections to do restoration on the property. We're very good at what we do. We generally buy properties that are in disrepair. We repair them and bring them up to code. One of the things that we're very interested in doing is implementing programs. We just recently had conversations today even with individuals working with the University of Florida as far as partnering with some of the programs that they have and using satellite locations at the school as well. This is going to create revenues. It's also going to create opportunities to increase educational boundaries. There's really not much. There's a lot of illiteracy in our community with the adults. My husband and I started a program at Lowell Women's Prison in 2009. We have the lowest documented recidivism rate in the nation as of March of last year. We now, they've been shooting a documentary about our program for the last 3 years, which you can find it. I hand wrote it on your paper. If you go to beingmichelle.com, they just recently finished it. It will be in the theaters shortly. There's several big name places that are interested in buying it. We do not receive funds from that film, however, because of the expansion of where the film is going to be presented. They are opening up revenues for people who are interested in participating in our programs and how they can financially help to expand us, even though we do not receive from the movie itself because it is a documentary. However, they've already set up financial websites and things like that for people to be making donations. We've already started this about a week ago, and it's moving quite fast. We have a variety of resources that we're going to be providing. Everything from the gymnasium, as you well know, has been remodeled. It does have some broken windows, so it's not going to take much to get that up and going. We're going to initiate the original funding process and programs that we're going to be doing. It's going to be starting in the music room, the gymnasium, and the old art room as well, while renovations are going on through the culinary area and the other school section where the offices were set up. We'll have a business incubator along with classes that'll be held on the upper floors after renovations are completed. We have companies that are coming in to give us proposals on additional updated costs.
Your time has expired.
Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you very much. I would look forward to hearing more about this in an upcoming work session. Dr. Gullett, sometimes things like this happen, an historic building is poised for demolition, and then at the 11th hour, a proposal comes up that may be viable. So I'd like to hear more about it.
Certainly. Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm just making sure I have the contact so we can be in touch and we can set that up. Thank you.
Thank you.
Renee Haney.
Renee Haney, 3994 Southeast 99th Lane, and the last name is Haney.
Okay, you have 5 minutes and your time will be displayed. Thank you.
I'm definitely no public speaker. I have never came here before, but I just wanted to be a parent speaking up for our kids in school. I know that there's different laws with the mask mandates and all of that, but I have 2 kids in school, and one's at Bellevue High School, one's at Legacy Elementary, and so far there's almost more kids being quarantined than there are at school. I'm not sure exactly how this school year is going to go, and I know most of us don't. Last year, my son got quarantined for 2 weeks, and he fell so far behind he never caught back up. And today, my daughter got sent home. Her whole class got sent home because somebody got tested positive. So my whole point in speaking is just to see what we can do in the schools to encourage more children to wear the mask. I know that we already started having more kids wear the masks, and at the high school there's a lot of people that opted out. But I'm just here trying to stand up for all the parents that do want to require all the kids to wear masks if we can, or whatever we can to make that happen. Because last year I do think it made a big difference. There seemed to be a lot less of the spreading of the virus. And I know that the Delta variant is a lot more contagious, but it's getting really bad. It's getting very scary for the kids. My kids don't have a problem wearing masks to school, and I know apparently some children do have a problem with it, and I understand if they have asthma or problems like that. But again, I'm not sure the limitations of what the school board can do, but I'm just here to try to do whatever we can to use more hand sanitizer, enforce more, and masks, and see what we can do for our kids. At least until, that's one point I wanted to make is hopefully pretty soon the younger kids will have the opportunity to get the vaccination, and then hopefully things will start to get a little bit better, but at least until everybody at least has the opportunity to get vaccinated, and when the numbers start hopefully going back down, and then, to change some things at that time. So that's all I have to say. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
very much.
Yes, thank you for coming.
Mr. Powers, these will be only 3 minutes.
Okay, thank you.
Justin Godwin?
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for having me here tonight. Give me liberty or give me death.
Grab and state your name
Oh, I'm
and
sorry.
address.
Apologize.
Sorry, I thought you were here, so I thought you were Johnny on the spot with me there. Go ahead.
I was here until I got up here. Justin Godwin, Godwin, Ocala, Marion County. I do not choose to give my address. It is on the form that I turned in.
Are you within Marion County limits?
Yes, sir.
That's what I need to know.
Yes, sir.
Take a look right there. That's your time. Go for it.
Give me liberty or give me death. 246 years ago, one of our great founding fathers, Patrick Henry, coined this phrase when facing a tyrannical government. Today, we come before you as subjects, fighting a new tyrant over potential mask mandates. Our great governor has made it clear that our state will have no muzzle mandates. Yet we're here having to fight for our rights as parents to choose what we feel is best for our children. Whether you choose to relieve your child from the bondage of a muzzle or whether you choose to have your child wear one, that is your right as a parent to to choose for our child and our child alone. Sick until proven healthy seems to be the current motto of the school board and is as sickening to hear as guilty until proven innocent. That is not freedom. That is not American. Today, my child was sent home for 7 days for the simple fact that another student tested positive. Not only was she sent home, but she was also forced to put on a muzzle after clarifying with her teacher that she had, in fact, had a opt-out form. Furthermore, this same teacher proceeded to ask the students who had been vaxxed and who had not been vaxxed. After this, the vaxxed kids were able to return to class, and my child was sent home. Not only is this an attempt at public shaming of a child, it's a violation of HIPAA laws as I understand them. I understand we're here about safety, but as another founding father, Benjamin Franklin, stated, those who would give up essential liberty for temporary safety deserve neither. If I don't stand up for our children's rights and our rights as parents, then no one will. I respect the job our teachers do. Lord knows I cannot do it. Although I respect everyone's individual rights, this is not about them. It's about our individual children and what we as parents feel is best for them. Ronald Reagan said, freedom is never more than one generation away from extinction. And I tell you, I will not stop fighting for the rights of my child. Thank you for your time. God bless us all and keep us safe.
Thank you, sir. Ladies and gentlemen, this isn't a campaign rally. Have some decorum, please.
Irene Sutter?
Hi.
Hi.
The other people got 5 minutes. I would like 5 minutes also. I don't think that's fair.
Okay. Your objection is noted. You have 3 minutes, and I need your name and your address, please, for the record, and state your name and spell your name.
My name is Irene Seiden, Seiden, and I'm a Bellevue, Marion County resident. I am here because I believe you guys have violated the Parent Bill of Rights that gives us authority to have medical decisions over our children. It has been stated by the governor that wearing a mask is a medical decision. By you mandating that Marion County residents, 42,000 children, are forced to wear a mask again or opt out of it, is going against the Parents' Bill of Rights. There is nobody better to decide whether those children should wear that mask or not during that day but the parent themselves. I do want to bring up the effectiveness and the safety of a non-surgical cloth mask forced to be put on a child's face for 6 hours a day with no policing of sanitary. That child could do anything with that mask during the day. And have you been to a bathroom in any of these elementary schools? That mask could fall on the ground, kid picks it up, puts it on. I'm not getting into this. You don't have the right as a school board to tell those parents, 90% of us that went to orientation chose to wear a mask or not. There was no problems. People who wore masks, great. They were free to wear a mask. People who did not, great. They were free not to. But as soon as school started, you guys were in, the first day of school, you were in an emergency meeting stating that you had on August 10th, I believe it was, you need to have an emergency meeting. And by the 16th, which was the 5th day of school, you now have a mask mandate, again, to defer these children and these teachers from what they're there to do, which is learn. Now you have policing, now you have enforcement, you have chaos that was not there already. Governor DeSantis has spoken that the counties last year that opted out of mask mandates had no discernible difference in their health as in the counties last school year that chose mask mandates. He also has in the Parents' Bill of Rights citing that masks are not proven safe for children. And for you guys, no, I love that you love our children. That's why you're here. But this goes against the safety of our children and the parents' rights to make medical decisions for our children. And by creating a mandate with an opt-out, you have created chaos that was unnecessary for the parents, the teachers, the students, even the bus drivers. There now has to be enforcing, policing, and last year there was a lot of that onto my children for insubordination.
Your time has expired.
And I expect you to reverse your mandate immediately on the Marion County residents.
Thank you.
Mr. Gary White.
Hi, Mr. White. You've been here before. If you just please state your name and address for the record and spell your
Gary
last
White,
name.
W-H-I-T-E, 9280 Southwest 96th Court Road.
Welcome back, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Will be posted as usual up there.
Should be 5.
Yep, yes.
Don't need that much, but thank you very much. I would just like to say that I cannot add any more to this last 2 conversations than they gave you. I've spoken about it before. Kids eat dirt. That keeps them from getting ill. Antibodies are created. Kids eat dirt. You better hope they get a little COVID so they'll be safe against COVID, create the antibodies, and live a long and wonderful life. But tonight I got a little problem. I was over at Dunellen at the school, middle school, and went into the gym. We've spent a lot of time on the mask. We've spent a lot of time on our freedoms. But the middle school at Dunellen looks like a ghetto. It has lights that are probably in the 40 to 60% on and working. It needs paint. Its scoreboards, y'all know how you have scoreboards here and you have scoreboards here, and the kids playing basketball watch the scoreboards to see the time. Neither one of the scoreboards work. Neither one. It's on a homemade wooden stand at the very end. When the referee blows the whistle, everybody looks around and see what he's calling. Well, he's calling that the end of the quarter has happened or the end of the half. They have no idea. I just want to call this to your attention. The mask mandate's extremely important. The freedom of America, individuals, parents, and kids are extremely important. You have to know that there is a cure. Hydroxychloroquine and ivermectin will cure COVID. I promise you, if it's given early enough and in the correct amount, you will be cured. If I was a guy standing off on the back of a medicine wagon in the Wild West, I could hold up a bottle that's 30% alcohol, and I could get you to believe that it would probably take care of a headache, not being able to sleep, and diarrhea. And you'd buy it. I cannot understand for the life of me why ivermectin, hydroxychloroquine, zinc, vitamin D can't be understood to be a cure for COVID. I think we've been a little bit had by Big Pharma. Somebody's making a lot of money. Discontinue that making money. The stuff you're giving your kids in shots is dangerous. It will cause a shorter life. Many, many great doctors, Vladimir Zelensky, a Jewish rabbi, a 20-year doctor, he understands COVID totally. Dr. Lytle, our local doctor, he's a wonderful man, had almost no deaths, and until one snuck up on him the other night and he didn't quite understand the new quicker acting. You have to get into the hydroxychloroquine and ivermectin a little early. It was 7 days with the COVID, and it's with the variant. You need to start paying attention in 4 days. But you can take it as ivermectin as a prophylaxin. Take a little every couple of days or twice a day if you get a little sniffle. And if the sniffle goes away, which it will, you'll be okay. I said that to say this. We have spent so much time on this that I have not been in a lot of other of the schools. I admit that. But that gym, if it's any indication of the way other gyms are in our county, we really should be embarrassed. Lights, paint, and scoreboards. Forget the scoreboards, just lights and paint would be absolutely fantastic. Please get out and check those schools and come back with the board with some kind of an idea of an expenditure to get the gyms of our county in a little better shape than they're in. And I sure thank you for listening to me tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. White.
Mr. Kevin Cruz?
Mr. Cruz? Mr. Cruz, as with the last speakers, as you approach the podium, please state your name for the record, your address, and spell your last name, please.
My name is Kevin Cruz. My address 7865 West Highway 40, Lot 151, Ocala, Florida 34482, and CRUZ.
Thank you, sir.
All right. I'm here to talk about these mandates that you guys did in school. You know, I have 4 children. 3 of them go to these schools. And basically, 2 years ago, my daughter went to spring break, never came back. This COVID came, she couldn't finish the school year. Nobody went to school. Last year, they had to wear masks all year long. Okay? I don't know if you understand the RSV infections that are happening in the South, especially in the South because of the heat and the humidity. Kids are going to school, the hospitals with infections in their lungs because of these masks. This year, we were excited. Governor DeSantis said it's optional. We're very happy this happened. And then 4 days later, it's a mandatory. And if you don't want to do it, we could give you a waiver. but it's basically a registry of these children that didn't wear a mask. Who has this registry? Do you guys have it? Does it go anywhere else? Where's the list of the kids that don't want to wear a mask? You have my daughter's number. You have my signature. This is very concerning, okay? Because I don't know if you notice this. We all here talk about masks and we talk about all this stuff, but it's a global problem. We see what's happening in Australia. We see what's happening in France. We see what happens in England. What's happening to the Western world. Okay? So I want to read this real quick. Once the herd accept mandatory forcible vaccines, it's game over. They will accept anything. Forcible blood and organ donations for the greater good. We can genetically modify children and sterilize them for the greater good. Control the sheep's mind and you control the herd. Vaccine makers stand to make billions, and many of you in this room today are investors. It's a big win. We thin out the herd, and the herd pays us to provide extermination services. Now, what's for lunch? That's Henry Kissinger, okay? This is a long plan they've been planning. So quickly I will say what the brother has said. They that give sensual liberties to attain little temporary safety deserve neither liberty or safety. Ben Franklin. So you have to ask yourself, would you rather have dangerous freedoms or safe tyranny? And I'll take my time.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
That's it? Okay. And thank you, everyone here in attendance. This is obviously a very passionate subject, and I really appreciate you being respectful and allowing everyone to speak their minds. That's what America's all about. So I appreciate each and every one of you that came up here tonight, each and every one of you that shared, and thank you again for coming. Okay. May I have a motion to approve consent agenda items C7.1, C17.1, with the exception of items C6.1, C16.1, and C15.2 that have been moved to discussion, and item for just cause D19.4. May I have a motion, please?
So moved.
Moved by Board Member Cummings,
Second.
seconded by Board Member Campbell. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes unanimously. May I have a motion to approve out-of-county board member travel? This is item C6.1. Need a motion, please? Need a motion?
You want to put it on the table? Because I think
Oh,
it's,
it is. That was why it was moved to discussion. Do I need to make the motion then?
yeah, well, one of us do.
Right.
I'm
thinking.
No, I pulled it. I didn't know I could vote on it. I don't believe I can vote on it.
In the motion. We
It's
It's just a
Need
motion.
a motion, not a vote.
Okay, fine. I'll make the motion.
Okay,
Has
moved
my
by
name in
Board
it.
Member Campbell,
Second.
seconded by Board Member Cummings. Mrs. Campbell, I understand you pulled item C6.1 out of county school board member travel. You wish to have further discussion?
This is the Florida School Board Association 2-day training that I believe all of you have already been a part of for, I believe it's bargaining one day and advocacy legislative updates the next day. And so unbeknownst to me, when they count mileage in that, so then that adds it up to $504. So the board has to approve anything over $500. So it's because of the mileage and the out-of-town travel. It's not the registration cost or the hotel fee that adds it up to that, so.
Okay. And yes, Board Member Campbell, we do these routinely, and it's just part of the consent agenda item. So you're sharing with the community that it's over the limit by $4, right?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Is there any further discussion? Okay. Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes unanimously. Well, yes, with one board member recusing.
Unless Ms. Campbell just want to pay us $4.
If it were only that easy.
In full disclosure, I won't turn in my mileage form, but that's fine. But it still has to be approved, so.
Okay, thank you. Item C16.1, may I have a motion to approve business partnership application for Greenway Elementary School, Stone Petroleum Products Incorporated?
So moved.
Moved by Board Member Campbell. Second by Board Member Cummings. Mrs. Campbell, I understand you pulled item C16.1, business partnership application for Greenway Elementary School, Stone Petroleum Products Incorporated. You wish to have further discussion?
I just wanted to pull this item because I also would like to abstain from this vote. I secured this business partnership.
Okay. Attorney Powers, for future reference, is that necessary? Because I've done a number of these in the past.
It is not necessary that she would have to do so in this situation. In an abundance of caution, I certainly respect that was why it was pulled. It wouldn't be required. These are, again, fairly routine, and I was unable to find anything that indicates that there would be any indication of a problem in continuing to do it that way. But I certainly respect the fact that we, in full transparency, wish to, attempt to make sure that we are being very clear about that. So.
Thank you, Attorney Powers. I think we do need some consistency. So are you saying that it would be a best practice for transparency if any of us were to secure sizable donations from our community members to recuse ourselves? I just want to make sure we do it the same way each time.
We're not personal benefactors of it.
That's what I was thinking. I was like, it's
you're
not
not
like
the-
we don't have money.
And that's the reason I say that I would say, because you are not individually the benefactors of this, it is the district as a whole. That's why it is not necessary. So it's it's unnecessary. In full transparency, I certainly can understand what warrants a comment that, I was the person who secured this or whatever the case may be. But that being said, I don't think it's necessary that we make a best practice of the matter for transparency. And I think as a matter of consistency, if any a recusal or a abstention from voting is always the right that is vested within each board member. But given the fact that it is not a necessity and it does not benefit you personally, that would be something that would be clearly something that we would need to be extremely transparent about. But in this situation, it would not be a necessity. And so I don't think there's a need for us to do that as a best practice. And I think that if consistency is our goal in addition to transparency, I would not advise that we pull items for this purpose in the future, but I certainly respect why it was done.
Okay. Well, it's good to have this conversation because we get these lists of donations every week. And routinely we have, whether or not a board member has had a hand in securing them or not, that hasn't been disclosed in the past. But, you raise a point, and therefore we want to make sure that we're continuing to do all that we can to assure anyone that wants to donate to our school system via conversation with a board member or anyone else that that's perfectly fine and perfectly legitimate. And I certainly would never want the community to think that any board member would try to benefit in any way, be it materially or through recognition in any way whatsoever. Our donations are too dear to us. They're very straightforward. Our donors really support us. And so in my mind, I think that that's something we all need to keep in mind, that for the sincerity of this process, we want to make it very clear to the public that, it is about their generous donations. It's not how they came to know that there was a need, I guess is my point. Is there any further discussion?
The flip side of this would be that if we do bring it up at every meeting, then y'all are going to have to start competing over who had the most brought in at any given week. So.
And that's exactly what I would like to do, because this isn't about us, it is about our fantastic donors.
100%, Chair Thrower, and thank you for the opportunity to have this discussion. Seeing in the future where once we approve the strategic plan and the community engagement initiative that will be a part of things that I wanted to have this discussion now, whenever it's a business partner donation, as opposed to if we're talking hundreds of thousands of dollars in the future. I have not been a part of one of these before, so this is new to me. I felt that it was appropriate to recuse myself from the vote just simply because of how the arrangement occurred, but I completely respect that if that doesn't need to occur in the future, then we'll just move forward.
Okay. All right, thank you, Board Member Campbell. All right, is there any further discussion? All right, seeing none, all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right, and the motion passes unanimously. Okay, item C15.2. May I have a motion to approve personnel items 2021, 2022 fiscal year?
So moved.
Moved by Board Member Campbell. Second by Vice Chair King. Mr. Cummings, I understand you pulled item C15.2, personnel items 2021, 2022 fiscal year. You wish to have further discussion?
I'm just abstaining from this vote.
Okay. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes unanimously. Okay. And I'm going to pass the gavel to you for this next one, Vice Chair King.
Okay. All right, at this time, I would like to recognize Chair Thrower.
I request Vice Chair King declare just cause to discuss an item regarding administrative personnel items 2021, 2022 fiscal year.
I declare just cause.
I recommend a motion to be made to approve the administrative personnel items 2021, 2022 fiscal year.
So moved.
All right. I need a second. I didn't even have to say, do we have a motion?
Right
Mr.
there.
Cummins, can I get? All right, is there any discussion? Furthermore? Nope. All right. All those in? Yes.
Why is this a just cause? I think it seems like this is just, we just kind of had something like this a couple weeks ago. I'm not going to stop it, but I do want us to have discussion about this.
Okay.
Because it seems like we're about to violate our own policies and procedures when we keep bringing things that are not, the public has not had the opportunity to see.
So if I may, the uniqueness of this situation is, and visiting with there are two items in this administrative personnel area that are actually bringing in two assistant principals into one high school. And because of the uniqueness of the situation there from an administrative standpoint, where we had an assistant principal move into the principalship, and then that left a vacancy there, and then another vacancy because of additional transfers and moves. If this had waited until the middle of September, which would be the next time that this would have been able to be on the agenda, I think that that's, frankly, this board member feels that that's unreasonable to put a high school in that kind of position because of upward mobility of other personnel within that school. I know that the recent scenario that we had in July, I believe, where this kind of was a factor as well, maybe July, August timeframe. Frankly, I believe that that also was something that we may have done because we only had one meeting in the month of July. So that kind of upset some of the administrative moves that needed to be made. Additionally, the reason that this didn't make it on the agenda the way it should have was because of our emergency meeting on Monday. So that kind of messed up the interview process, and that wasn't something they were expecting, obviously because of an emergency meeting, or this would have made the regular consent agenda with the other items.
For the record, we have rules in place for a specific reason. For the record, Attorney Powers, just at the last school board meeting, issued a memorandum to us concerning this type of things. Whether or not we prepare for it, I understand all that Board Member Campbell just stated. If the school district has, as we have done since school started, we have continued to give that school support in that. We could have, these people are not people coming from outside the agency. They're already within the agency. So therefore, we could have made initial moves to still have them on the job doing the work without violating our own policy. I'm in agreement that these people need these positions. I'm in agreement that those positions need to be filled. But I'm not in agreement when every time when we make something, we have a rule, and then we start using that rule and making it into a standard operating procedure. That's what we're doing.
Yes. So I think what is happening here is probably new school board members, new administration trying to finagle what our procedures are going to look like. Because yes, I do agree, when something is put onto our agendas, it should stay put. And in the past and maybe we could work on this and have further discussion during a work session is what I'm thinking, just to clear the air and communicate this. Because I think what is happening is probably a little misunderstanding and communication, probably on both sides. Does North Marion High need those APs? They most certainly do. In the past, that was never hindered them moving into that position until the next meeting. So I'm not exactly for certain what had happened and why. At this point, I'm only speculating. And again, just going back to, I think there's just new parties and we're trying to learn how to work together.
So I just want to clarify, if you don't mind, I'm sorry if I cut you off in mid-thought, Ms. King, but I just want to clarify. So while our policy is that they would need to be on the board agenda to be approved at an appropriate time, we don't have a policy that says that person should not go to work in that job ahead of the board approving it?
I'm just saying in the past, right, and that's where I think we need to iron some things out. And if we could talk about that at a work session, because there are certain things when something comes before the board, and we know it's a little bit better if that makes any sense.
And Vice Chair King, you're absolutely, that's where I'm at with it. I'm not against the moves, I'm not against any of those. I'm against the procedure, the policy. If we have those things in place, let's follow that, because what we're doing is setting precedents that's going to hurt us down the road. And then the other thing with this, once that agenda has been posted, it's not supposed to change, because we have to give the public the opportunity of 7 days to be able to view that. We're shortchanging the public when we're doing it like this. That's my concern.
And we can talk about that. But the last thing that we want to do as a board is hinder our superintendent from doing her job. And that's why I think maybe if we could just iron that out a little bit better and take some time to communicate what is actually, those are just my thoughts.
And for the record, Dr. Gullon already talked about this as well. I shared my concerns, so I'm not blindsiding her with anything that we haven't talked about. I'm just addressing my concerns for the record. We're going to vote those people into those positions tonight, but it was pulled for discussion because it was just cause. So let's discuss it. So I'm in agreement. We could talk about it at a work session so that we can do it and not tie your hands. We don't want any procedure to tie your hands, but we want to do things. If we say it at the beginning of every meeting, transparency. So let's be transparent in everything if we're going to do it the right way.
Right. And I think it's just working together and figuring it out. I think that's what I have picked up on.
Well, and to be clear to the public who is probably sitting here thinking, what are they in the world are they talking about? Here's the perspective as I see it. Getting items on the agenda at the last minute when there was time, when there was ample time, typical time, that is something we need and want to avoid, always. And there is a difference between standard operating procedures, which should be that. When there's ample time, it needs to get on the agenda. People need to understand what a deadline is, because it creates extra work, down the pipeline, and that's when mistakes get made. So I think we're all in agreement on that. So that's standard operating procedure. Then there's something called extraordinary circumstances, which is what we are in right now. And when I called the emergency meeting, I had no idea of this situation. And even if I had an idea of this situation, I would have said then, let's go ahead and move forward, because we don't want to hamper. We have to have this conversation about everything that we're going through. That's also critical, but it's also critical to get these people in the positions and get them working. So there is an area of discretion here that we have to use, I feel. But we also have to be very careful when we use it, and we have to be very transparent about why we used it, because the public trust is everything. So, Dr. Gullett.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the board. I appreciate the opportunity to add to this discussion and appreciate, yes, we are very committed, I as a superintendent committed to following all the policies. So there are a couple things that happened. We had scheduled interviews on Monday when the emergency meeting was called. Those were our final interviews. And we backwards mapped that so that we can meet those deadlines, and then that had to be moved because of the emergency meeting. So we were not able to do that. And because of that, to follow the policy, we were not moving forward with posting it. It was being postponed to the next meeting to provide the 7 days notice. But school's very concerned about not having their staff on site full-time, and so that ensued with conversations that I had with the board and the attorney. So we are committed to doing that. To the point, I think, Vice Chair King, that you mentioned earlier, the current policy does not allow for the superintendent and my team to be able to take a look at the situation and have somebody in place pending board approval. I do not have that authority in the current policy. And that is part of...
If I may interrupt, I'm apologize for that, but that is one of the considerations. Is my first thought was, is it possible for the superintendent to make an interim appointment and then make sure there's adequate public notice and we carry it through till September? And current board policy does not allow that. However, we have modifications of board policy that will be coming up within the next couple of months via the Neola policy updates, and have the opportunity to alter those. So that was my first attempt at a resolution, was to go that path, and I found there's a lot of different routes going into how we can do that. So I think that definitely would have addressed what Reverend Cummings' concern is there, the fact of public notice and transparency, which is paramount. So.
And that's important to me. I too, making sure, I think you all know, are committed to that and following policy and being transparent, but also prioritizing the needs of our schools and our team. And I think you all agree, and I know that you support us in that. So however we can resolve that, I think there are some opportunities moving forward to do that. But I did want to be really clear that, well-intended, we were following the rules, and not everyone understands the nuance of the policy, but we're committed to being transparent and following those policies.
Yes, and the school was thrilled. So we did the right thing for the school and for the kids. But now we do need to have a discussion of policies so that there is some built-in flexibility to address very few and far between situations like this. Does that capture it?
That's for me.
Okay.
Call for vote.
Okay. Anything else? Any further discussion?
All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye. Aye.
All right, and the vote passed unanimously.
All right.
Here you go.
Thank you, Vice Chair King. All right, moving on to donations. May I have a motion to approve the following cash or tangible donations that have a total value of $42,398.10. Backpacks and school supplies valued at $18,163 to Bellevue Elementary, Bellevue Santos Elementary, Dr. N.H. Jones Elementary, Fessenden Elementary, Fort McCoy, Hammock Bowen Elementary, Harborview Elementary, Legacy Elementary, Madison Street Elementary, Maplewood Elementary, Ocala Springs Elementary, Ward Highlands Elementary, Saddlewood Elementary, Shady Hill Elementary, South Ocala Elementary, Spar Elementary, and Stanton Weirsdale Elementary Schools from Kingdom of the Sun Chapter Military Officers Association of America. Wow. All right, $2,500 to Dunellen High School from First, $2,500 to East Marion Elementary School from their business partner, American Dream Residential, LLC, via the Public Education Foundation of Marion County. School supplies and clothing valued at $1,250 to Fort McCoy School from St. Paul's United Methodist Church of Ocala, $1,000 to Fort McCoy School from Salt Springs VFW Post Number 10208 Bingo account, $1,000 to Marion County Public Schools Mental Health and Wellness Department from Larry Simmons, sanitizer, masks, and soap valued at $3,346.44 to Marion Oaks Elementary from Lowe's Home Improvement number 1685, $2,500 to Marion Technical College from American Welding Society Foundation Incorporated, $1,000 to Osceola Middle School from Suzanne Obertufer, $1,000 to Osceola Middle School from Susan Obertufer. I hope I spelled that or said that properly. $3,000 to Saddlewood Elementary School from Anuj and Amy Sharma, sanitizer, masks, and soap valued at $2,774.84 to Sunrise Elementary from Lowe's Home Improvement, store number 1685. Sanitizer, masks, and soap valued at $2,363.82 to Sunrise Elementary from Lowe's Home Improvement, store number 1685. Need a motion, please?
So moved.
Moved by Vice Chair King.
Second.
Seconded by Board Member Campbell. Is there any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes unanimously. Board Member Campbell, will you please give our thanks tonight?
Absolutely. As Chair Thrower so eloquently said earlier, our community supports us amazingly well, and we are so grateful for all of the things that have been given to us, all the things that have been given to our schools, the school supply drives, the sanitizer, and all of the things that have been done from staff even giving some of these gifts, and the families, and we're just so grateful, and we really can't do all that we do without these gifts. And most importantly, it's not just the dollars behind it, but it's the support, and it's the community support, and knowing that you're behind us 100%. And that's so valuable, and really money can't buy that. So thank you so much. We really appreciate you.
Thank you, Board Member Campbell. The next administrative briefing and work session is scheduled for September 23rd, 2021 at 9 a.m. The purpose of the work session is to discuss the student progression plan, annual public education foundation report, construction projects, district offices, MTI, MTC updates, and COVID-19 updates. I'm wondering if we can fit in the Reddick High School discussion based on the information that was shared with us tonight.
We certainly can, Madam Chair.
Okay, great. All right, we'll move on to committee reports and concerns and comments. Ms. Martinez-Lopez, do you have anything for us tonight?
No, ma'am, I don't. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Attorney Powers.
Yes, with the board's approval, I would like to take a moment. We give 3 to 5 minutes for each speaker. I think it would be useful for me to read into the record our resolution number 2108. I believe it'd take about 7 minutes for me to do so. It is posted, though it's currently posted on board docs, and I would like for us to consider posting it in a way that is even a little more transparent so that it's more easily accessed. But I heard a lot of commentary tonight, which I believe reflects some possible misunderstanding or misinformation regarding what our resolution says that we put into place. And so with the board's permission, I'd like to read Resolution 21-08, which the board recently approved, into the record.
Yes, Attorney Powers, I think that is important because we did have a resolution last year and we have a new resolution this year, and it is quite different in some pretty critical respects. So I appreciate you bringing this forward so we can get that out in the open. And I 100% agree that we want this resolution to be available and easy to access for anyone that wants to take a look at it. I think that's really important.
Thank you. This is entitled, "A Resolution of the School Board of Marion County, Florida mandating face coverings with a student opt-out provision, requiring all persons that work, attend, visit, or enter upon school district property to wear face coverings while indoors on any school board property to stop or slow the spread of pandemic or epidemic events. Whereas the superintendent and school board, in compliance with Executive Order 2021-175 issued by Governor Ron DeSantis and Florida Administrative Code R.6A ER 2101 and 6A ER 2102, have deemed the current heightened COVID pandemic to be a school district emergency. And whereas Section 1001.43, Section 7, Florida Statutes of 2020, authorizes the school board to adopt programs and policies to ensure appropriate responses in emergency situations. And whereas public health experts have consistently recommended avoiding close physical interaction between people in order to slow the spread of COVID. And whereas school settings are a potential source of community spread of COVID, therefore, in accordance with Sections 1001.49 and 1001.51, Florida Statutes of 2020, the superintendent recommends the school board adopt a resolution requiring all persons that work, visit, or enter upon school district property to wear face coverings, and for all students to wear a face covering unless the parent guardian of the student opts out. And whereas it is the intention of the school board, in accordance with existing Florida law, that parents and guardians may opt out their student from wearing a mask or face covering through the parent-guardian access in Skyward, by parent-guardian handwritten note, or by a signed parent-guardian permission slip provided at any school. And whereas, consistent with the ongoing nature of the COVID emergency, this resolution is appropriate in order to ensure the health, safety, and welfare of the school board's employees, students, and the community during the present pandemic emergency, to require face coverings consistent with the provisions provided herein. And whereas the superintendent shall create procedures for imposing the face covering mandate for staff, visitors, and students, along with the parent-guardian opt-out process. Now, therefore, be it resolved by the School Board of Marion County, Florida, Section 1, Finding of Fact, the foregoing findings are true and correct and are hereby adopted and incorporated by reference. Section 2, Definitions. Face mask, face shield, or covering shall mean a uniform piece of material that securely covers a person's nose and mouth and remains affixed in place without the use of one's hands, whether store-bought or homemade, consistent with CDC guidelines. Social distancing shall mean physical distancing, keeping space between oneself and other people in accordance with the CDC guidance, and located at, and it gives the website address. Opt-out shall mean that a parent guardian must review and select the opt-out option in Skyward by parent guardian handwritten note or by a signed parent guardian permission slip provided at any school, so their student will not be required to wear a face covering on school property. Section 3, face coverings required. Every person working, attending, visiting, or doing business with the School Board of Marion County, Florida, shall wear a face covering consistent with CDC guidelines while on school board property, including, but not limited to, buses, hallways, classrooms, cafeterias, restrooms, administrative offices, and the school board meeting room, etc., when not maintaining social distancing from other persons. Section 4, Exceptions. Nothing herein shall require the wearing of face coverings by the following persons: a student whose parent guardian has elected to opt out of the face covering mandate, persons outdoors, including but not limited to recess or PE, and or observing social distancing in accordance with CDC guidelines, persons providing a note from a licensed healthcare provider stating that said individual is medically exempt, provided that social distancing is otherwise observed to the greatest extent practicable, persons exercising while maintaining social distancing in accordance with CDC guidelines, persons eating or drinking while maintaining social distancing in accordance with CDC guidelines, students while participating in youth sports, providing that social distancing is observed to the greatest extent practicable, students engaged in curriculum-related performing arts, including but not limited to woodwind or brass instruments, choir, singers, comedians, magicians, open mic and karaoke performers, and theater or movie performers, provided that social distancing is observed to the greatest extent practicable. Students with disabilities and specialized programs whose documented disability would preclude their ability to wear a face covering. Public safety, fire, and other life safety and healthcare personnel, as their protective equipment requirements will be governed by their respective agencies. Persons communicating with someone who is hearing impaired, where the wearing of a face covering would impede communication, provided that social distancing is observed to the greatest extent practicable. Persons for whom the requirement to wear a face covering would cause a conflict with the Americans with Disabilities Act, provided that social distancing is observed to the greatest extent practicable. Children younger than 2 years old, and anyone who is unconscious, incapacitated, or otherwise unable to remove the face covering without assistance. Enforcement and penalties. It's the intent of the school board to seek voluntary compliance with the provisions contained herein and to educate and warn of the dangers of noncompliance. However, in the event voluntary compliance is not achieved, then violation of this resolution may result in the following disciplinary actions. Violations by students whose parents have not opted out may result in a level 1 dress code infraction. Willful violations may result in progressive disciplinary action in accordance with employee discipline outlined in School Board Policies 6.37 and 6.38, or collective bargaining agreements between the unions and the school board, whichever applies. Violations by visitors, public and individuals doing business with the district will result in the person being asked to wear a face covering. Failure to comply may result in the person's removal from school board property. Applicability: any provision of this resolution that conflicts with any state or federal law or constitutional provision, or conflicts with or is superseded by a current or subsequently issued executive order of the governor or other authority, will be deemed inapplicable and deemed severable from this resolution, with the remainder of this resolution remaining in full force and effect. This resolution applies within the jurisdictional limits of the School Board of Marion County, Florida. Effective date and sunset provision. This resolution will become effective on August 19th, 2021 at 7 a.m. and shall expire November 16th, 2021, unless extended by further action of the school board or upon adoption of a superseding board policy. This resolution will terminate immediately upon achieving substantial community transmission, reduction to less than 100 cases per 100,000, and test positivity rate reducing to less than 10% for 14 consecutive days. See the data and graphics provided at the CDC's data tracker, and the website is provided. Approved by the School Board of Marion County, Florida, 19th of August, 2021. Thank you.
Thank you, Attorney Powers. And again, this resolution will be widely available and accessible as per our request, correct?
Absolutely.
All right. Any questions, board members? Okay. All right. Thank you very much. I realize it took a few minutes to do it, but it was important to share and get it on the record.
Thank you.
All right, Dr. Gullett.
Thank you. Good evening again, Madam Chair, members of the board. I do have a few comments. In light of our speakers tonight and in previous meetings, as well as observations in the school buildings and inquiries we've all received, I think it's important to provide some clarification and updates. 2 weeks of school. We're in 2 weeks now. And yes, we have some challenges. We are happily serving more than 42,000 students. And many of those students, as you all know, haven't been in a school building in over a year and a half. So we've welcomed those students back. It's quite a transition for them coming back into our school buildings in a pandemic. Our staff is working incredibly hard. And I want to provide some key points here, again, to clarify. So one item that we had at our disposal last year from our Florida State Department of Education is the innovative learning model. And so when we've transitioned students back, sometimes we're still asked, why can't we flip the students to an online learning model? Options still remain for online learning, but the innovative model that we had last year is no longer funded this year. And so we can't take a whole class with a teacher and flip them to an online model. So it's either...
I'm sorry to interrupt,
No,
but
it's
just
okay.
to be clear, the innovative learning model is known in Marion County as...
MCPS Online.
Okay.
So we no longer have that. The option still exists for a virtual model, but that's a full-time model, which is asynchronous, which means that the teacher is not in front of the students every day. It's more of a self-paced program. That has always existed. It remains an option. But the face-to-face online model no longer exists through MCPS Online.
And why is that?
Because the state no longer recognizes this as an option, and therefore we are not funded to offer this model. So if students were enrolled, if we were to do that on our own, we would receive no funding for staff, and the students would not be counted as being one of our students. No funding at all for that.
And we did talk a little bit about that this summer. Well, not a little. We talked about it at length because we had identified at least 300 kids who had benefited and whose parents would have preferred to have them continue as another choice. And I think about some of our charter schools, they have less than 300 kids, and those get funded. And I can't remember exactly what the price tag was, but I remember it was really high if we had tried to do this ourselves. Wasn't it like $1 million?
Yes, it was at least $1 million, more than that. Yes,
More than $1 million.
because of the staff, exactly. And if you recall, we did ask for that to be permitted. I followed up with a phone call to spoke with our chancellor and followed up with a letter, but we did not receive a response. But that is not funded in any school district, any of the 67 districts in Florida this year. So what we are doing is we are making those provisions to provide that access to education. The continuity is important for all of our students, and we agree and know that our students do have that perpetual disruption. That is a absolute reality. And so to combat that, we, as you know, that you've approved and supported the Canvas platform. It's a learning management platform, easily accessible to all of our secondary schools. Our teachers are still learning that model during a pandemic. And so with a slow rollout, we've provided district-based lessons available through Canvas for those students that can go home. We have Chromebooks that we can send home with every student. We still have hotspots that we can do that. I will be very honest and say it's not ideal. It's not the model we had last year, but we have those provisions in place. So when you hear about a class that the Department of Health has deemed that should all go home, we have provisions in place to do that. If a parent cannot access due to regional inability to have access to the internet, we have hard copies available to assist them. And again, that's where our home to school liaisons come in to make sure that they all have what they need. And as a reminder from our last meeting, we do have coding available from the Department of Education, which our teams all have now, to code a student that they are getting instruction, so it won't count against them. Okay, so that's the first point. Secondly, I'm going to talk about the Department of Health, and you all know that we have regular meetings with them. We've added now Mondays and Wednesdays in addition to all the conversations we have in between. And so we were told yesterday we have a 30% positivity rate in our community. I think we've heard that, but we heard that on our call. What that means and why that's important for me to mention that is right now is because our staff is really burdened with a lot of the tracing and the calls that they didn't have to deal with to this level last year. Quite frankly, the Department of Health, and they've been great partners, have said they are completely overwhelmed. So when the Department of Health tells me and tells my team they're overwhelmed and they can't keep up, we are carrying the load. That means our teams, especially our school-based staff, they're managing not only the education of our children that we have with us, but also they're moving into that realm even more so with tracing and contact. And they don't have the information at hand. They can't ask the parents the question about where they contracted. So the COVID-19. So it's a burden on our team, but they're managing. But I just want to say thank you. And I know you all support that the work that's happening is just exemplary. We did hear from the Department of Health that they are going to increase testing sites because that's one of the requests that we've had, and I know that you all take turns on the call. Testing will move to 5 days a week, and so that will be very helpful because we know that the testing is important to get our students back and our staff back into the building in our classrooms. So it will move to 5 days. Mark Glander also reached out to me last night after our call to confirm that they are working on test kits. So more to come on that, preliminary information, but those test kits would provide access to us to allow those students to test sooner and get the results back sooner. Right now, there's a 2 to 5 day delay in someone getting testing and getting the results back, causing quarantines to last longer. They also shared that they're switching to more support to schools, to our district, and so they're restructuring their contact tracing because they know that we are carrying a heavy load, and so they're working to change some of that for us. I do want to also make one other point about quarantines that comes up periodically. You may recall that I was on a call with the governor, our chancellor, and our commissioner of education, and the superintendents had been asking for one message from the state and guidance on quarantine. We were told by the state at that time that when the student quarantine model came out, which is posted on our site, could we use the same for our employees, for our staff? We were told, work with your local Department of Health. They thought that was workable. Our local Department of Health does not support that. So what this means for us, and why this is important for me to say this, is the model that we use for quarantine for students is not applicable for our adults, for our employees. So that means that our employees are out for a longer period of time than our students in many, many cases. So sometimes there are questions around why is this different. I had a conversation with a principal group about this Monday, but because our local Department of Health does not support that at this time, there are differences in quarantine. That's one of our challenges that we're working through. So we are working with our unions right now, looking at some other options, and we'll be taking that back with the Department of Health to see what our other options might be. So for healthy employees to be in the workforce, that's important to help the load right now. So we're working through that, and we'll be updating the board as we have more information if we have that in this. Do you want me to pause or keep going? Any questions so far?
Question.
Yes, sir.
Did he say, as far as increasing testing to 5 days a week, did he say where, times, anything like that?
Yes, I can send those to the board. I'm looking over at Mr. Christian to see if he has those in front of him, but if not, we can send those to the board. We
I was
have
on
three,
the call.
you have, yes.
So beginning Wednesday, and I believe this starts tomorrow, I believe. I don't think it's next week. That's the only clarification. I'm not certain on that. So they will be at the Livestock Pavilion tomorrow, but they're also starting at the Florida Horse Park next week, Florida Horse Park, 7 a.m. to 5 p.m., Monday through Thursday is what I wrote down. And Wednesday, we'll stay at the Livestock Pavilion from 8 to 2.
Mr. Christian, I'll bring the notes. I didn't bring my
Thank
those.
you.
Yes.
Let's just make sure that our notes are the same.
Thank you.
I have the Florida Horse Park, 7 a.m. to 5 p.m., Wednesday and Thursday of this week. Next week, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday.
Yes, I'm sorry, that's what my note says as well. Yes.
And the Livestock Pavilion, 8 a.m. to 2 p.m., Monday and Wednesday this week, and Friday at the Health Department.
Yes.
And I need to ask this question because this is one of the questions I get when folk are calling me saying, my kids are home or whatever. Is that something we can put on our site?
I actually had a voice message this evening from Craig Ackerman at the Department of Health, who is putting together information not only on the vaccination clinics, but also on the testing that's available. We're touching base in the morning. I'll make sure that's publicly available.
Thank you. I think that will help us to be able to direct people to where they can go and get information instead of all these rumors and stuff.
Yes.
That's out there.
It's a lot of information with a lot of
Yes.
details that's very easy to get confused.
Thank you.
And there's some recent changes, so
Yes.
yes, we're happy to do that. And we'll update that after those meetings.
Also, can you speak a little bit at the at-home testing? So if a parent or a guardian gives their student an at-home test and it comes out positive in the schools and how, can you talk about that a little
Yes,
bit?
a great question, Vice Chair King. I don't have all the answers yet because quite literally it was mentioned in our call yesterday, and Mr. Lander called to say that it's beginning to roll out in some districts and he would provide more information, but it was coming. We don't know yet. We don't have any information. I anticipate that we'll have more tomorrow. He expected that on tomorrow's call he'll have more information to share.
So-
I had some questions as well. What are the implications? How do you provide assurances of who's giving the test, who logs that in? Because again, my concern is always putting more burden on our team. And we're not the medical experts. We've said this from the beginning, and I don't want to add to the plate of our team. So a lot more information. I'm just sharing that that's what he shared with us, that those are coming. I just don't know how they will be implemented.
Okay.
But we'll
I
update.
was on the call last Wednesday. And I think at that time he said that they weren't taking the home test yet. Am I right?
That is correct. And on yesterday's call, he said that they were being rolled out to some districts, and he was getting on a call yesterday evening.
But as of right now, we're not.
We are not doing those right now.
I just want that to be clear.
Correct.
As of right now, we're not.
Correct.
Until we get further.
He's indicated that those are an option coming forward.
Right.
So we will discuss that on the call with the team.
Tomorrow.
Correct. But if you hear about that, because it's out in the community, and I think with other districts, that is something that he is bringing forward, and we will discuss whether it's appropriate for us, as we have with others.
Thank you.
Does that answer your question? Thank you.
Yes and no.
Thanks, Bill.
So for clarification, because I also have received communication, as some of you have, just for clarification, we as a district are not currently doing any quarantining based off of only an at-home test.
That is
We're
correct.
doing it only on PCR tests. Okay.
That is correct. And that question has been asked a couple of times, and we've discussed that on calls. I know some of you have been on. Right now, it's just that PCR test. Correct. Correct.
And this is just a comment. We've been dealing with this for a while. And when it became very clear that COVID-19 was going to be a real problem for our schools, we felt, and rightly so, that we needed to stay in our lane as educators, you know? We're not doctors, we're not surgeons, you know, we're educators. And that we really needed the clear direction from the medical folks to help guide all of us through this. And sadly, what seems to have transpired is that there's lack of clarity, there's lack of trust, there is confusion. We've got our local health department that we're trying to follow an answer to. We have CDC recommendations that we're trying to follow an answer to. I think the World Health Organization is thrown in there somewhere. We have what our governor is mandating or not mandating. And then, you know, here we are at the local level when really and truly all of these decisions in partnership with the medical folks that are the closest to us in Marion County, that are seeing everything that we're seeing on the daily. In my mind, that would cut through a lot of this confusion and emotion and frustration. And it would allow us to build the partnerships, the clear partnerships that we've been trying to build and that we so desperately need to continue our mission, which is education. We only have 168 days left of school, which may sound like a lot, but it goes by in a snap. And that's just a comment. You know, hopefully we can continue more and more to make this process very clear, make it more user-friendly, get our kids back in school, give our parents that are trying to work, and yes, everyone should have a plan B for when their kids can't be in school. But the reality of it is, not every business has been able to keep employees that keep having to take time off. You know, it affects us. I don't know that we can fix that piece of it, but it's the reality. You know, there are some folks that have a great situation at home and they're able to keep their kids home and able to get the education continuing its role. But it just goes to show you how dependent Marion County is on our public schools. And when things aren't rolling according to routine, people are disrupted, very, very disrupted. So I guess I just want to say that, you know, pandemics are wildly disruptive. They are disorganized. And so when you speak of grace and compassion, I think we saw some of that here tonight. There were folks that were way on one side of the fence and the other when it came to certain ideas. But everybody was very respectful. And as a board, I know we appreciate that because that's not what we're hearing in a lot of other states and a lot of other counties. And I think we always knew that Marion County is better than that. You know, we can have our disagreements, we'll hammer things out, we're going to continue to do what's best for kids. But it is incredibly frustrating to be sitting up here and feeling like a puppet almost. You know, there was a threat of us losing our salaries or whatever, and then we hear that the federal government will make us whole. Well, that was kind of grandstanding on their part too, because what they actually said was you can use ESSER money, which was already been earmarked for kids. So that's not a decision as far as I'm concerned. I would never do that. Take money that was already earmarked for kids to supplement my salary. You know, I have another job. I have another business. I'd be okay. Would I be strapped? Sure. But these are the kinds of realities that we're being expected to deal with and cope with every single day. So not only am I super sympathetic to everybody's individual situations, but I hope that the community also sees that we are individuals too. And we are hardworking employees that we have that are just trying desperately to stabilize things so the kids can get their educations that they deserve. And I saw that reflected at 3 different schools today. I wouldn't have really known there was anything untoward going on at the schools I visited, which was Maplewood, Hillcrest, and Fort King Middle School. And I visited Fort King Middle School during lunch. And we all know, if you've ever been in middle school during lunch, if it's going to happen, you're going to see it then and at bus time. And it was calm, you know. People were doing what they needed to do and working with each other and helping each other out. So it's just really important. And I thank you, Dr. Gullett, for clarifying so many things. And I thank you, Attorney Powers, for reading that whole resolution so people can hear what it is, what it isn't, you know, trying to build on what we learned last year and being more common sense, you know, about outside at recess and, you know, all of those things and making it specific. But this is this work to keep schools open and give kids the education that they deserve under these conditions. That's why we're going to continue to keep problem solving, because we have to keep making this better. And I appreciate it. And I know you're not even done yet.
Yeah.
So.
And I appreciate that, Madam Chair, members of the board. And I want to be really clear about this. We are not making excuses. We're very focused on doing what we can control to make sure that our children have the best education they can when they're with us. Every minute counts, every day counts. And we are committed to prioritizing their needs, problem solving. Principals on Monday at a call had great feedback. We've made some adjustments. And every school is going to have at least one extra person full-time every day for the next several weeks, having some committed support, whatever they need to do. We're all going to be out in the buildings doing that. So we're committed to doing that, and we appreciate our school teams as well as our other departments in continuing to problem solve. And you're absolutely right. The positivity is remarkable, and I just thank them. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Gullett. Okay, Vice Chair King.
Yeah. So, if you would have told me a month ago that this year would have been worse with COVID than last year, I would have probably looked at you and said, you're kidding, and I don't believe you. And as we've learned, COVID has different variants, and it affects families and people different. This past couple weeks, but even more so, it's increasingly more. I've been hearing a few things. And so basically what I'm just going to ask for today, and I know Ms. Thrower asked a few weeks ago, and I know other people, you know, have asked for this, but we need to ask our community to please help us help you. And that is, if you are sick or if your student is sick, do not send them to school. And I know it sounds crazy and it sounds like we keep repeating it, but it's still happening. And it could be a teacher that feels that they need to be in school. And, you know, we've done a good job, you know, allowing teachers the days. So they're there, and if you have them, so please don't feel compelled. Your student has a COVID test pending, do not send them to school, because this variant is highly contagious, as we've been learning. And there are, you know, truthfully, masks, maybe they work, maybe they don't 100%. You know, I think the verdict is still out on that, especially when we're talking about children, you know, who put on and off and stuff like that. And so I think that's the message that I want to make clear again, is please do not send your children to school sick, or if you are sick and you are an employee, please do not come to help so we can help stop this spread. And one more message I would like to add is our employees have had a challenging year, and we're only the third week into this. And I'm just going to ask our community, please be nice to our staff. They are working diligently. They are working so hard, and they're trying to roll with whatever is coming with them. And every day, maybe every hour, it's looking different for them. And, you know, people in this profession, they care about people. They care about your children. And when they're getting yelled at or misspoken to for things that are out of their control, I'm as a board member, that hurts me, and oftentimes I think they're even getting yelled at for decisions that we have even made. And so that's all my message is today, and just for everyone to just stay healthy and well and do the best that, we know how to do. And that's all I have today.
Thank you so much, Vice Chair King. Yes, grace and compassion in action. Board Member Cummings.
Good evening, everyone, again. We did hear some spirited discussion this evening. Let me jump to something else. It was good this morning to be at the Public Education Foundation Board of Directors meeting this morning. I think we had a very good meeting. I was glad to see the superintendent and Mr. Christian there. And our public education does a lot. They're on every agenda. They're on every agenda because we see how we get those donations to our schools. So I want to encourage our business community and families that want to make personal donations to our Public Education Foundation. Our Take Stock in Children is a huge program that really makes a difference, and our Teachers to Be program as well. So we do that Education Foundation does a lot more than just the gala for the Teachers of the Year, the Golden Apple, for our support staff. So we want to encourage everyone to please continue to encourage them as well, because they do a huge lift for this district. They are one of the premier foundations in our country, and we're blessed to have them in Marion County. And then I want to say this. I want to pause just for a few moments. We've had some, and ask for a moment of silence. Just for a few moments. Thank you. The reason I ask for that moment of silence is because oftentimes, and we've had recently a lot of people, and somebody may say it's not a lot, but it's a lot. One is a lot that passes away in our district. And so we have folk that have passed away, had their funerals. We have folk that's in the hospital right now fighting for their lives, that are our family, that are our MCPS family. And we have to let them know that they are valuable to us. They're not just a number. I come from a system where people were a 6-digit number. They're not just a number. These are the people that are getting our students to school every day. These are the folk that are educating our kids every day. These are the folk that we ride the buses with, that we sit in the cafeteria with. And we have to show them and encourage them and let them know that they are a valuable part of our MCPS family. Family look out for family. We can't say they're family and then we don't look out for them. So I want to do that because we've had the losses and we continue to have the losses. And they do such a great job, just as you both just said. They do a great job every day. Every day. And I know we talk about all the things that are going wrong, but one of the things that I got reminded of, what about the things that are going right? There are some things that's going right within our district. Everything isn't wrong. Everything isn't broken. Everything isn't in the doom and gloom. There are some things that are going right. As a district, and I believe I can speak this on behalf of the other board members, that as a district, we're committed to correcting those things that are going wrong. That is our intent to try to resolve those issues as fast as possible to get those things that are wrong right. But then I also know that as a district, we are committed to building and expanding on the things that are going right and accentuating those things and celebrating those things. So I'm praying that we hurry up and get out of this COVID because it has been as Ms. King just said, this year has been worse than last year. The start of this year has been much more of a lift than last year. And then I want to say this specifically to our community that has kids that are riding the bus, that I'm asking for your patience. I'm asking for you to exercise grace and compassion with them. We know that there are buses that have been late every day. We're working on it. We know that there are kids that have taken it upon themselves to say, I can't wait, I'm going to walk to school, or calling parents to come pick them up. We know that. And we're working on those issues every day. But understand that they're not late just because they want to be late. Understand that they're late because we're short. Understand that they're late because we have bus drivers and bus aides that are sick at home, dealing with the same issues that the rest of the world is dealing with. Understand that if they could be there and be on time, that it would bring no greater joy for them than to be there on time and pick up our kids and get them to school. So I'm asking our community to know that it's not intentional. It's because of the times that we're in. And we are going to work on it. I know Mr. Villanello is over there with Ms. Rohr and Transportation. They're working hard to try to resolve these issues, to try to get these kids picked up and get them picked up on time. I think I talked to Ms. Rohr about some things today that I think that could help. I want to mention it to our superintendent, Mr. Villanello, immediately after this meeting, and hopefully it may start alleviating some of the stress off of that. So parents, please be patient. We're trying to get it done as fast as possible. And then, as Ms. King said, and I'm going to end my comments because our preachers like talking. If I talk too much longer, y'all going to have to pass a tray and take up an offering. Everybody is dealing with the same thing at the same time. All of us are dealing with COVID. Every last one of us. Every last one of us. I'm going to say it again, every last one of us. Some choose to deal with it one way and some choose to deal with it a different way. It makes no difference how you deal with it, you still got to deal with it. And we're trying to do it the best that we can for 42,000 students, for 7,000 staff members. We're not going to make everybody happy, but it's our intent to keep everybody safe. So understand that our decisions that this board makes, and I said I didn't say mine, I didn't say Ms. Campbell's, Chair Thor's, or Vice Chair King, it's our decision as a board that we're doing what we can do to make sure that it's safe based on the recommendations from our superintendent and her team. And we were elected to do those things to keep everyone safe and think for the greater whole. So again, please be safe. I'm encouraging everyone to please wear their masks if they can. And you do have options to opt out. But I want to encourage you, until we get beyond this, please wear your mask. That's it for me.
Thank you, Board Member Cummings. Board Member Campbell.
Thank you. Thank you, Reverend Cummings, for mentioning the Public Education Foundation. For starters, as Dr. Gullett knows, I had my Public Ed Foundation mask on, and I was going to wear it, and it's a little too tight. I wanted to give them some props tonight, too. It is. If you've tried it, it's a little too tight, so I wanted to have the ability to be able to speak and be heard. So many things have been said tonight that I obviously agree with and want to say the same things. First of all, I want to stress how appreciative we are, how thankful we are for the staff of Marion County Public Schools. You are going above and beyond. Right now, it is, I don't like the word unprecedented because I think we keep using unprecedented and then we keep having something else that makes it more unprecedented. Is that even possible? It sounds like an oxymoron in a way. But you are facing situations right now that we never would have imagined. And just as Vice Chair King said, if you told us a month ago that we would be in the situation we're in today, as a community, as a state, as a nation, as a world, we would not have believed it because we all thought that we were on the backside of what this was going to be. But you continue to carry on and you continue to press on and put children first. Whether you are struggling with learning Canvas as an elementary school teacher, wondering how is this going to help my kids? The secondary teachers, they understand. I mean, kids are turning in so much there, but so much happens face-to-face learning in elementary. I understand the challenges that you are experiencing there. Whether you are bus drivers picking up additional shifts that you weren't expecting or picking up additional routes that you weren't expecting. Whether you're custodians who are cleaning and cleaning and cleaning and more cleaning. Any one of you, paras picking up for, or substitutes picking up for lost instruct. So many staff. I don't want to continue naming departments because I'm going to leave someone out from that perspective, but I know we are incredibly grateful, thankful, and appreciative for all the work that you're doing to put students first every day, making sure that they are still getting what they need despite the quarantines that they may be facing. Quarantines is a whole conversation. We are all fed up with them. We are all fed up with quarantines. This board received some data within the last 24 hours that shows educationally how our students are impacted by quarantine. We know it. We've seen it. FSA results last year showed it. Those students who were out 10 days or more, 10 days, that's just one quarantine, 10 days or more, suffered significant educational challenges. That's just one quarantine. And we know that there were students that had multiple. Whatever we can do to try to wrap our heads around how we're getting out of this. Frankly, I don't know what the answers are. We don't know what the answers are. We're working with the Department of Health as much as we possibly can. What we do know is that this variant that we're seeing is, number one, more contagious. Number two, more contagious in children. What we're trying to find out, and I haven't gotten clarification on yet, maybe you all have, is it causing severe reactions? Is it causing severe reactions in our children? I don't know that. What we're potentially seeing is that it's mirroring what an influenza season might look like. Incredibly, incredibly infectious and contagious, but I'm not certain if we're seeing the hospitalizations and so forth. Certainly the vaccinated are experiencing this very differently than the unvaccinated. That is documented in our community. The reasons for that, I don't know. But the one thing that I also want to mention that is very disconcerting to me and that my heart is incredibly heavy for is the love of life that children should have. Children, as they're growing up, because of the nature of a child, should feel invincible. They should feel that they can conquer the world. They should feel that they can be and do anything that they want to be or do. And when I'm seeing teachers, and we all are seeing it, teachers and other professionals in our community seeing fear in children, and I'm very serious about a spirit of fear, children afraid to die, children afraid to take a virus home to their loved ones, children afraid to look at someone without a face covering on. That is incredibly hurtful and disconcerting. There are medical professionals, pediatricians in our community that are seeing students and saying, do you want to take this home to your grandparents? Do you want to take this home to your friends? Do you want, It's incredibly hurtful and disconcerting. I don't know how we get past it. I'm going to throw out a scripture. I know Reverend Cummings is talking all the time about being a pastor, but Ecclesiastes 11:10 says, "Banish all anxiety from your heart." Anxiety is fear. Somehow we have to get past this spirit of fear that is resident in all of us. I don't know what the answer is. I don't, except for the grace of God. But by the grace of God we go. So again, I just want to say how grateful we are to every Marion County Public School employee who is working diligently, to every healthcare professional who is working diligently, to all of our nurses and healthcare professionals in our schools and Department of Health and hospitals. And we're all just tired. We're all worn out, and they're on the front lines. We can't thank you enough for what you're doing. Please keep pressing on. Keep holding out hope, and have peace in your hearts that we can get through this together. That's all I have to say.
Thank you, Board Member Campbell. I want to give some just real specific thanks and praise as we wind up our comments tonight. First of all, I'd like to thank Dr. Gullett's team. You had a list of concerns and suggestions from principals, I think that you just got late yesterday. And by the end of the day today, a lot of those have been addressed. And one very specific one was the quarantine form, the 19 or 20 click quarantine form. And that has been modified now to make it much more user-friendly. And those are the kinds of fixes that, if allowed to stagnate because they're so ridiculous, really make people more frustrated. So I'd like to thank Dr. Gullett and her team for just really hearing the schools and doing everything within your power in the day-to-day operation to help relieve their burdens and to share that you understand. The Public Education Foundation, Megan Magamol, she did something that I don't think anyone has done at the Public Education Foundation before. Now every single school, for the first time, has one or more business partners. So Megan was able to build on, Judy Zanetti and Beth McCall's great work. And now, look, here we are. And we have, it's too bad sometimes that it takes something like a crisis to bring everybody together. But while we may be arguing about certain things, I think in the end that we do have the right spirit, that we all want to fix this. We all want to see things get better. Thank you so much for the homeschool liaisons. I had a chance to meet the one at Maplewood this morning. She had just started and already making a difference, reducing so much of the paperwork load and the follow-up load, again, for our schools. And it was incredibly uplifting to me. I know when I start to feel bogged down with the weight of this job, where do I go? I either go to a school or I get outside, and it just completely changes my mindset. I got to hold a hen today. I think it was a therapy hen. They have them at Maplewood, and the kids just adore them, and there's so much embedded learning in that, and I had a chance to see them this summer. But went back there again. There's many typical normal things going on in our schools. Education is occurring. The problem solving is ongoing. I do sense a little bit of somberness. Usually middle schools are just beehives, and they were, but to me, I felt like I detected just a little layer, there. But I think kids are taking this very seriously. And I think back to stories of my grandparents when they had rationing during World War II. You only got so much sugar, you only got so many pairs of shoes. It was down to that level. And we're having to make adjustments that I don't think we've seen really, in modern times. So it's a challenge. On Facebook, even, I want to give thanks because there's a lot of information sharing going on. There's a lot of venting going on. But I'm starting to notice a pattern. Like by Friday night, parents are saying, let's talk about something positive. Let's talk about one good thing that happened today. And so I really do want to thank the parents because they are trying to make the best decisions that they feel they can on behalf of each individual child that they have. And we know even in families, you can have one kid that's like this and another one that's polar opposite. And they're trying to plan for all that. And it is really a bummer still that we do not have the ability to pivot to MCPS online. Parents are missing that. And I'm noticing more and more communication from parents about that very thing. So I do want to share this because it's indicative of probably 7 or 8 emails that I've gotten in the last couple of days. And I'll paraphrase, but thank you so much for taking the time to speak with me today. I have 2 children in elementary, kindergarten, and 4th. My kids are not vaccine eligible. I honestly feel scared to death to send them into the school system. My son did the entire 3rd grade via MCPS online. He did excellent. It worked for us. I'm starting to feel unheard as a parent and as a taxpayer that we do not have a voice or an option to choose MCPS online during the most contagious variant so far, and the numbers increasing every day. When the state of Florida was in a better position with the pandemic, we had these options. Now we don't, when the numbers are as they are right now. This mom is a healthcare worker. She sees firsthand these numbers increasing. It's upsetting to her that her children don't have an option that worked for them last year. She felt like she was left with no other choice but to withdraw them and enroll them in Florida virtual. Not easy, but she really would have preferred the option of MCPS online so that the kids could follow the same curriculum that we have. And she feels further that her kids' education is being sacrificed and that parents should have options to choose whether or not they want their kids in MCPS online or brick and mortar. And I just share with this parent, you know, we communicate with the state, we communicate with all of our stakeholders, but parents' voice is loud. It is highly considered. And so I've been sharing with parents that I will share with the team their views and what they would like to see happen, but it's also important for them to communicate that up because choice is important. I think we hear that over and over again, choice, choice, choice. Well, we have charter schools that are smaller than the number of kids we had on MCPS online that did well. So that's something that I think for the state to think hard about, because if we could do it, we could. And, you know, if we could do it, we would. We just can't afford it, and they wouldn't even count as FTE. So it's just a mess right now. And then finally, probably everyone knows who Charlie Brown is, and I think about this summer, everybody was having such a good time, you know, getting back to more typical. We're all excited for the school year, you know, let's run in and get started, and whoop, that football just got yanked right out from under us, and here we are on our backs like, oh no, you know, we have to pivot now and recognize that not only is COVID still here, it has morphed, and it's different, it's more contagious. We have kids under 12 that aren't eligible for the types of treatments that, you know, a lot of people believe in. So we do need to protect them, especially because they just don't have as many options. And I'll wind it up just by saying that every single one of us has our own individual challenges, but what we also have is the ability to come together, to keep hashing it out, to keep making decisions that are quick and easy to move the work forward. Because again, and I'm going to keep saying this every once in a while, y'all keep count, 168 days left of school. So kids are never going to have another 3rd grade, hopefully. You know, they won't have to be held back. Another senior year, things like that. So let's just keep the noise quiet. Let's keep communicating and our eye on our mission. That's all I have. All right. We will move on. Unless there's anything I've forgotten.
No.
Okay. Now for the worst part. I wish to acknowledge that board members have received the alternative placement list for students through August 6, 2021. Ms. Martinez Lopez, are there any parents who have submitted a timely request to speak on their child's disciplinary matter?
Board Chair, we don't have any parents, but we do have 2 attorneys, and we'll be speaking off air with them.
Okay, thank you.
At the end of the meeting, we'll recess. We will not adjourn.
Okay, all right, thank you. May I have a motion to approve the expulsion of student JD 21-084 with educational services through the remainder of the 2020-2021 school year and the entire 2020-2022 school year? May I have a motion?
So moved.
Moved by Vice Chair King,
Second.
seconded by Board Member Cummings. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes unanimously. There being no further business, may I have a motion to recess?
So moved.
Moved by Board Member Cummings, seconded by Board Member Campbell. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes unanimously. We will recess at 7:51 p.m. for 5 minutes. Thank you so much.